So for those of the followers who are following us, and we have 9 weeks, we're working on our 9-week transformation story.
Yes, we are.
But that is actually your second surgery that will be happening. There was a first one.
There was.
And about a year ago.
No.
Almost 8 months ago.
December 1st of
Yes.
2021, I had my first surgery.
Okay. So tell us, why did you decide to do that? How did you come to that decision? Was it scary? Like, what happened? Just walk us through that whole process.
So skin removal was a big, big, big decision. And obviously, we both work for ourselves. Yeah. So there is not a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly paycheck. No one else is, helping us with health insurance, any of those things. And so all the income that comes in is very important. And I think every penny of it, with 5 children, is spent very purposefully. So even the idea that I would be willing to utilize that portion of our income to do something like this was probably the hardest part for me, to say, this is a financial cost, and I could think of all the other things with 5 kids that I could do with it, all the years of swim team that would pay for, or of activities, or trips, or whatever it might be. And so that was something I had to kind of work through, and I had to value what was important to me, and I had to be able to say, because I'm doing this, it's not taking away from my other priorities. It's amplifying my life with the rest of my priorities.
So just to understand, what did you have done 9 months ago?
Okay, so first and foremost, I had the skin removed off of my stomach. So I lost 125 pounds in about 13 months. After I had lost 60 pounds on keto, got pregnant with and had keto twins, and stopped for a whole year, May 19 to May 20, I paused that whole process, and through that pause gained back all 60 pounds.
You had extreme morning sickness, and the only thing you could eat during that pregnancy was bagels and Nutella.
It was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Literally,
I lived on it.
No meat. There was nothing else.
I couldn't smell it. I couldn't. Yeah. If I tasted a vegetable, it tasted. Yeah. It was.
And obviously, bagels and Nutella is not a keto.
No, do not. And for goodness sake, this is not pregnancy advice.
Right.
If I understood that keto pregnancy was an option, I would. If I were to get pregnant again, there is no plan for that. I would do a keto pregnancy. I absolutely would. But we have access to things like keto pancake mix, and you could make keto bagels now.
There's all kinds of tools.
We could do PSFM breads and cinnamon rolls and all those things all day long, and I could feel like I'm eating bread.
We didn't have those then.
No, none of that.
Those ideas weren't out on the market.
Not only were they not on the market, you and I weren't at the point we were exploring even the recipe creation and the things that we do now. When you're watching our Instagram and we're making keto donuts, or we're doing the kids' birthday cakes keto, or all these things, those were skill sets that took time and really didn't begin to even develop. I kept my food so simple, so easy. I did not bake. I did not do any of those desserts until you were keto too. Yeah. So the first 2.5 years of my journey, none of that was there. You
really lost all the weight before we learned all the tricks.
Oh my gosh, yes. No, it was literally as simple as can be. We've talked about that in another video, like how simple I kept my food for so long. And how actually having all the tricks sometimes is a double-edged sword. Yeah. And so I want to point that out too. Knowing that you can make a keto cheesecake, it can be dangerous. And so all of those things come with the time. I think that it's important that my journey didn't include that until it was time to include that. Right. And those kind of things built on each other and came with time. And so I lost that 125 pounds all over again. I gained back 60 through the pregnancy, walked out of the hospital at my starting weight from the year before, and had to start the journey over again. And then over the course of about 13 months, lost 125 pounds. Plus, there was actually a couple of days that I saw something even further than that. And it left a great deal of loose skin. It was fast. So that's part of it too, is a slower weight loss will allow your skin to heal and come along better than a super fast weight loss. My body just, I think, was ready to burn it. And I kept my food so simple and so tight, and my fat, everything so tight, that I think that it just was what it was. And so I got to the point, I could fold my tummy, I could flip it over. I was zipping it into my jeans. I was getting rashes. It was a number of things, nothing that got it medically covered. We had to do it all out of pocket, but enough that it wasn't just a vanity thing. I couldn't buy certain clothes, like certain jeans and stuff. I had to literally figure out how to put it into my pants the right way. Yeah. And really think through every single dress. I might be a size 8, but I wasn't able to wear size 8 dresses that showed anything here because I had literally where I had to decide how I was going to push it or fold it or move it when it was tucked into something tighter and more fit. And so, I mean, all of that.
Being the loose skin.
It being the loose skin.
Right.
It was this entity in and of itself. It was its own personality at that point.
Right.
And so, so that was kind of the first decision. I also had 5 babies. I had 5 babies. My body stretched as a plus size woman, as a full figured, as an obese woman going into these pregnancies. It also stretched to carry babies during 4 different pregnancies. The last one being a twin pregnancy. Yeah.
And they weren't small. They were both 6 pounds and 6.5 pounds.
6 and 6'8".
Yeah.
I had 12.8 pounds of baby in this belly.
And they came 6 weeks early.
And they were early. Yep. We could not let them cook any longer. They were tapped. They had to come out.
Yeah.
So it was, one of those things that it probably wasn't going to bounce back. I wasn't going to ab work out my way to a tummy that didn't have the loose skin. And it really was at the point where I said, I know I've done what I've done. And I know I'm going to live this way because there's no going backwards for me. And I'm going to be honest, 10-pound fluctuation, whatnot, whatever you want. That's one thing. I'm not going back to a life that I don't get to enjoy firsthand and get to participate in fully. And so it was one of those things that I had lost the weight and lost it quickly. And I had held the weight loss for over 6 months. And I got to the point I no longer had a track. I no longer had a count. I no longer had to input every single item that I ate every day. I was able to intuitively eat and maintain that weight loss. And I was able to actually up until after I had the surgery. I went into surgery 3 or 4 pounds above my 125 pound mark. But I did all of that for over 6 months. I needed to prove to myself that I could just live that way, that it didn't need to be diet mode, weight loss mode, that I had to learn maintenance mode and enjoy maintenance mode without feeling like I was still weighing every piece of meat. Right. And it's kind of gotten fun. I can literally, you know those people at the deli? The people that, you know what I'm about to say, don't you? That literally you're like, I would like 3/4 of a pound of your boar's head turkey. And they will grab it and they'll like add 2 or 3 pieces or take something away. And they put that on there and it's like 0.75. It's perfection.
They did it exactly on the first time.
It is like a claim to fame for me at this point, that after a couple years of tracking and weighing every single piece of meat, literally Andy's like, how many ounces do you think that is? And I'm like, oh, probably 3 1/4.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
she's good at it. It's like a magical skill.
It's good. So I got,
But you worked up to that. Just to point, we have other videos. Go watch those about the mindset around tracking.
Yes, absolutely. Because tracking can also be a toxic tool. Yeah. But for me was kind of where I found the freedom and confidence to be able to eat intuitively, to be able to not think about what I was eating all the time for the first time ever. Mm-hmm. Like that, thinking about it all the time led me to a life where I didn't have to think about it anymore. Yeah. Because I got that level of consistent progress that it became second nature. And so I think that part's really important. You're right. And so, after all that time and all that energy, I got 6 months of just, I can do this. I know what I know at this point. And I had the skin removal surgery. And after feeding 5 babies, I decided to have a breast lift and augmentation. And it was very much so a thing that nothing was going to come back or go back or be put back where it was.
I mean, this decision was really, your doctor said this needs to be done. It's not really an option for you.
She told me it was an option, but she is a friend. Yeah. She's a phenomenal surgeon. Actually, I'm just going to shout Dr. Heather Pena. She's located in Topeka, Kansas. On Instagram, she's Surgery in Champaign. Literally changed my life. And I was able to walk in, and with her honest and scrutinizing eye, she was able to say, Mary, this is gonna change your life. Like, yes, I understand that this is uncomfortable. And she was like, but the freedom, and I didn't want large breasts, I'm gonna say the word. It wasn't about being big, and I didn't go big. I wanted to be able to be comfortable. I wanted them to be where they were supposed to be at.
Have clothes that fit.
Yes. Right. That the amount of things that I was like, I can wear this now, but it looks weird on, or I can't, it's backless or whatever these things are. And so I decided, and that was added in. That was something that we kind of went, okay, we're going to do one at a time. And because it made more sense financially to do 2 surgeries together instead of paying the surgical fees as far as like the space itself is actually what's so expensive. It was like my doctor was far less expensive than like the area that they did the surgery, anesthesia once, all these things. So we decided to do both at the same time. And it was really you that you were like, I want you to feel your very best. And if this is something you want, you don't have to put this off for another year. And if it can both be, can be done at the same time, let's go for it. Let's make it happen. And it was a constant talk, like, Andy, like, I'm doing the numbers. I'm the numbers person in our house. I keep that budget going. I make sure all those kids eat, and all the things that we do are clothing, everything. It's very much so kind of my wheelhouse and my skill set, that I was like, I am doing the numbers on how many other things we could do with this money. And you were the one that had to kind of reframe that for me and say, how many of those things are we going to do either way? Because we're going to keep growing and we're going to keep winning. We're going to keep being successful and our businesses are going to thrive. But how many of those things you're going to be able to do at your best because you do this? And it was very much so like, I get to do all those things too. I'm not saying no to those things. I'm just going to be able to participate in those things in a different way, with more confidence, with more. It was at the point that I really respected myself and I respected my body as it was, but I really wanted to look at it and just love it. And that's okay that like there's parts of you that you've got to say, I don't know if I can love you yet, but I respect what you've done. I respect how you've carried me. That stretched out stomach carried 5 babies. I had to learn to respect that and say, I am grateful that you stretched and grew and got the stretch marks all the way up and the dimples and the scars, because you allowed me, this body allowed me to get the most beautiful experiences of my life. It allowed me to grow the family that you and I have grown together. It had to get to the point that hate was no longer on the table with my body. That was not an option. I had to really address the fact that hating my body and acting like it was somehow separate from who I was and my heart and my mind and my soul, the things that I was most proud of myself, it allowed me to experience all the things that I liked about me. It allowed me to experience the businesses that I built. It allowed me to speak on the stages I've spoken on. It allowed me to marry this man that's sitting next to me, and all the vacations we've gone on, all the trips and all the moments and memories we've made, even the cookies and pizza and chicken fingers that we ate. This body allowed for that moment, and it carried me through it. And I think that I had to get to the point that I had to say, I love it. And really, I think I went past respect to love before that surgery. I think I had to know that I could get there, that I had to say, even if this never happened, I love you. I love this belly. Even if the next day you said, everything's bottoms up, we need that money to go here now instead, that I could love me as I was anyway, forever. That going, if this never happened, I would be okay. But the ability and the option to do that was there. And we worked really hard together to allow it to be there. And the time, I think, was hard to say, I'm going to have to sit out, a couple weeks of our lives. And
6 weeks.
We need extra help.
Yeah.
Yes, we needed extra hands on deck. The girls and the kids had to understand we had little babies that didn't understand that I couldn't pick them up right away. And they got good at it though. They both learned to climb up next to me, and they would just kind of snuggle in and lean like this, like they knew.
Yeah, without touching the sore spots.
Yes, and they were in my bed in no time.
They did.
And we had the downtime and we enjoyed that together. We did it in December in Kansas City. Pre-Christmas, post-Thanksgiving, there was, I was fine. There was a couple Christmas things that you got to experience with the kids that I didn't that year. But also, there's times that it's really important to have daddy time or daddy and grandma time. And they got that around Christmas kind of activities. But I was at Christmas Eve.
Right.
And I was at Christmas Day.
We made it fun.
We had gotten to that point. And so those are kind of the things that I had to work through emotionally. And the surgery itself, the idea of the anesthesia and doesn't wig me out the way it wigs you out. Like the idea, you were like, literally, please just let my appendix burst if that's what it has to do, but don't make me get it taken out. Like you would rather. And for me, none of that, and I don't know if it's because I've had a number of surgeries. I don't have a gallbladder. I don't have an appendix. I don't have tonsils. All those things required surgeries. I've had endometriosis since I was 13 and had 4 laparoscopic surgeries for endometriosis. Like I'm just going, all right, let's go.
I don't know the drill at this point.
And I think that I really did go into it with good spirits. There was another surgery when I got I had to have emergency gallbladder surgery when Kinley was 8 days old.
Yeah.
And I had
mastitis.
Yes. Oh, I had to have 2 emergency surgeries within 4 days of each other after my first daughter was born. So this baby comes out 8 days later,
and you're trying to figure out how to breastfeed, which is stressful.
Never done that before.
Never done it before.
Brand new first baby. And 8 days later, my gallbladder, I had gallstones, but had to have emergency gallbladder surgery. And I had to breastfeed that baby all the way into like anesthesia. Like literally, I was laying on the gurney, breastfeeding, and they wheeled me in.
Passing the baby off. Like,
literally here, like my brand new baby. Yeah. And I remember just bawling. I remember it being one of the scariest moments of my life until 4 days later, I had mastitis that got to the point that it needed an IND, an incision and drainage.
Yeah.
And had to go in for an emergency surgery. And
of course that interrupted all the breastfeeding.
You were out of town.
Yeah.
If you might recall that you were traveling for his job at that point. Andy had a job. Andy worked jobs before he was home and job optional. That was a thing. And so it was not always here. All the things that we've shared, our life didn't always get to look like this. There's been 15 years of things that led up to getting to be in Florida on a Tuesday, enjoying each other at a beautiful home and having time to ourselves. So this was not our reality for a long time. And he was traveling for that job. I remember having to call my stepmom in the middle of the night and dealing with all this with now a 12-day-old brand new baby, my first baby. And so it wasn't that surgery wasn't always scary, but it kind of...
You hadn't done any weight loss at that point.
No.
So there was
I was a full-figured...
None of the energy that you have now, none of the ability to...
Or the healing that comes from the food choices that I have now.
Yeah.
All of that, no. So none of that. Yeah. But I guess in comparison, in that like stark comparison, in that particular light, I went, all right, like, let's go. Yeah. And I think you were a little bit more nervous and stressed and scared than I was when I was getting wheeled in on December 1st. But I was in good spirits. They tried to shove bread in my face after it was over. Though she has to eat something. And no, Andy left and went live on my Instagram,
this is
I think.
How committed.
Okay.
Right?
No, this is your story. This is you.
This is how committed.
This is you. You tell your story of what you had to do while I was in surgery and what you did through my Instagram. Do you remember this?
I don't even remember.
Oh my gosh. No. So Andy went onto my Instagram, took my phone, and was like, friends, they told me that at the end of this, she has to eat, and they were going to give her bread.
Yeah.
And I told them
to give you like peanut butter bread or something.
Yes, and I told them that's not going to happen. Like, she's not going to do that. So Andy was like, what should I do? And
we had just come off of, 75 hard. You had done some really good habits and exercise, and you were awesome. You were on top.
Have gotten sick multiple times when trying to eat bread after this.
Go back to carbs. Yeah, it doesn't work.
All the things that my stomach does with it don't go well. And so you got on my Instagram and you did a story, and all my friends started responding like, go get this, go grab this. This is an option, because Andy doesn't shop for our food.
And I don't even know if I'd started. Yeah,
you were 8 months in or so, but you don't shop for our food.
You're so good at it.
You let me handle that. You are so good at helping put food together. You're so good at helping make the meals. Y'all have seen him in the kitchen on our videos. You're a good cook. But as far as the actual details of where things are and what I get and how things work. So our friends, helped you out. You got some food. You got back in there. They tried to not let you have it. They're like, no, she needs to eat this. I get out of surgery and they start trying to shove it. And I'm like, is that real bread? And I don't remember this. This is not, is that real bread? My eyes are still closed.
You would not.
I did not want to wake up. I also I was like, no, I'm just going to sleep. And they're like, you got to go home.
It was a long surgery.
It was a long surgery.
Anesthesia. Yeah.
And so they tried to shovel that bread. I was like, is it real bread? And I wouldn't ungrit my teeth. And they're like, yes, you need to eat something. I'm like, no,
wouldn't do it.
No. So they finally let
worse than any of our 2-year-olds.
Yes, I was a child about it, but they finally let Andy give me some of the snacky things, and I don't know what you got. I mean, I have no memory of any of this.
Yeah.
But some of the snacks that you had gotten, whatever it was, a keto bar or keto bun, or I don't know what you ended up doing. Yep. But you're like, this bread is safe. You're okay. It's not the best choice, but it is a choice at this point. And so finally I ate something so I could leave. And so that is a whole tangent, but that's part of the reason we're doing this together, right? You guys get to know us. And so that happened December 1st. It was good. The healing went well. It was some of the most
you were able to stay
insane pain I've ever experienced for about 3 days.
You were able to stay on. We didn't really deviate.
Oh, I didn't deviate
from eating any kind of foods that keep you in ketosis.
I didn't eat as much for a couple days. I did not have the appetite of normal.
You didn't go
once
back into ribeyes.
I was like,
you didn't go back into ribeyes.
The text started changing where he was like, "Do you want to eat?" And I'm like, "Oh, just send me up a yogurt with some berries or something till I'm ready." But it was pretty rough pain for about 3 days, and then it got better. So same thing. I've already experienced all that.
For anybody that might be familiar or researching, you did drainless for your tummy tuck?
That is a whole, I don't know if y'all have access to that, because I was blown away that my surgeon was able to do a full tummy tuck and breast lift without drains. And she's younger, I think, as far as like doctors go. She's a couple years older than me. She has always gone into plastics. When I knew her at 20, she was like, I'm going to be a plastic surgeon. I'm going to do breast
Surgery
lifts.
in Champaign on Instagram.
Surgery in Champaign, Heather Pena, Topeka, Kansas, Stormont Vale Health. Amazing. And so like she has such an eye, but she's been trained later than people who have been doing these for 25 years. And she was trained in a technique of doing it drainless. And it was amazing. My healing was so fast. I did not have the swelling. I did not have anything that I was getting caught on or pulled. I showed up with like a little robe that had like little pockets for drains that somebody on Instagram like linked me to. So like I asked for all sorts of input. Like, what do I need? I kind of almost went into it more blind because it made me more comfortable going, she knows what she needs to do. I don't need to know everything that I could know or could go wrong or anything else. And so, somebody, I showed up with my little pocket robe and she's like, oh, you will need those. And so I just put snacks in them. I just had snacks. But it was a very, very, very cool process. And the healing went amazingly. And how fast I went from lots of pain to like a 2.
It was within that first week, really.
Yeah, it was.
2 weeks in, I think you still had some residual pain, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
There was more pressure than it was painful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was starting to stand up. I mean, I stayed, I'd used my little walk, but I was like, I'm going. It was like even hunched, I was doing my thing. So it was a really, really positive experience. The confidence that's come from living in a body that I felt like was always in there somewhere and I had never gotten to see has been pretty cool. And we kind of talked about it being like a little bit of the Michelangelo effect. Like, there's going into like creating a statue. There's just all this marble or stone or whatever it might be. And the artist has to be able to see what's underneath there and take away little pieces to see what the core of that is, what the piece of art is meant to be. And I had never seen a healthy body on myself until I went keto. I had never seen a healthy BMI number, and BMI is a crock, and we can do a whole video on how I feel about the BMI. I think it is trash. But I had never seen that in my entire life. And so it was also that everyone, kind of sitting, isn't it a badge of honor? Isn't this like, it shows how far you've come. It's a reminder to not go back there. And part of me went, man, I've been reminded that I'm overweight for 30 years. I've carried the reminders of what it looks like to live unhealthy for 30 years. I have had the skin and the fat and the chub and whatever else. I want to know what's always been in there. And to take some of that away and to start to carve that off and to start to remove all of those things and say, I'm grateful, like I said, for all that it did for me, but I don't need to hold that for the next 50 to 60 years of my life.
So again, the surgery itself was a tool that you used at the appropriate time.
I feel like it was.
Right.
I would recommend somebody doing something similar if they asked me about weight loss surgery or skin removal surgery or post weight loss surgery, I guess is how I should put that. I guess there's actual weight loss surgeries, post weight loss surgical procedures, plastic surgery. Yeah. And I think it really is, know that you can do it, get down to where you want to go, learn to stay there and to love yourself there and to exist there, knowing that if it never happened, you're okay. And that it's not a requirement for your self-esteem. But also know that you're allowed to love your body and want to change it. You're allowed to accept yourself as you are, where you are, and have goals. And I think that that's a conversation that doesn't happen enough in this space. I'm just going to be honest. I feel like part of the reason my voice on Instagram kind of got amplified and some people shouted me out in a way that extended kind of my reach and my story was because I wanted to have that conversation, that I no longer had to apologize for my body. I listened to a podcast. Taylor, the last name's Taylor, with Brene Brown. I feel like at the end of this, I need to edit this in. But she wrote a book called My Body Is Not an Apology. And I remember hearing that phrase put that way. And I thought about all the times that I felt like I was either internally or externally, apologizing to the world for the fact that I was fat, for the fact that maybe I shouldn't be wearing this swimsuit. Maybe these shorts are too short, or to hugging my body in the wrong way. I'm sorry that I have the fupa or the rolls or the try and cover myself up because other people don't want to see a plus size girl in a bikini or whatever it might be. I remember apologizing that I existed in the body as it was, and really realizing that I had to let go of apologizing for it at any stage. And I had to be willing to say my body is not an apology. It is not something I have to be sorry for. And it is something that whether at 210 or 190 or 290, I'm allowed to love as it is where it is. But I also don't owe anyone the comfort of saying I want to stay there forever. And when you change, when you start doing things that go against and start to create friction with other people on what they expect from you, on what they've always known of you, of what they believe you to be, and you start to say, I'm not going to live that reality for you anymore. I am not going to be the quiet one or the self-conscious one or the one that hides or the one that's in the back of every picture or the one that doesn't dress in the trends or the one that makes sure that I wear the extra, 15 layers of clothing. I am not going to be what I've always been because it's comfortable for you. I'm going to get uncomfortable with a new process and with the growth required to become the version of myself that I'm most comfortable with. And that's a whole conversation. And I think that as I got to the point that I said, I think people got uncomfortable with the fact that I started to feel myself. Like I didn't.
I loved it.
You loved it. Literally, Andy's my favorite line. So check your spouse on this. Check your spouse. But my favorite thing is when people say, what did Andy think of it? Or Andy, what do you think of Mary's dress or my earrings or my hair or my new nose ring or whatever it might be? What do you think of that? Andy's response since the day I knew he was in love with me, I guess it was like maybe not the day we met, but from the time that we really realized this was something real, was I feel Mary when she feels herself. So whether or not I was 297, but I was done up for a wedding, or I had my victory curls going on, or I was in the heels or wearing the shorts or whatever it might be, when he knew I was kind of like exuding like my inner like diva, which exists in there, like y'all, it does. I like to be done up. And when I wasn't hiding or feeling like I had to be frumpy or apologizing.
Even subconsciously or silently apologizing.
And you've always said, I feel Mary when she feels herself. The sexiest thing in the world to you, on me, is confidence. And I have realized that. Like I can tell, like when I'm all done up, I'm okay. I can see you seeing me in that moment, which I think is really important, is that it wasn't about the size or the clothes if I could do that in pajamas, like you feel me. And I think that it made other people a little uncomfortable. I think that when I started to say, like, I'm going to wear the crop top, I'm going to wear the shorts, I'm going to put on the bikini.
Even before you hit significant
Oh, absolutely.
You did it before.
Yeah, when I was down 20 pounds, I'm like, I'm done with frumpy single piece swimsuits. I'm done with the frumpy. I'm done with the frumpy clothes. I'm done. I was crop topped. And I was doing that at my heaviest. There are pictures that we keep finding, like that Vegas trip. I was probably pretty darn close to my heaviest. Crop tops the whole time. The mesh, kind of lacy shirts over a bralette. Everything's, but there was a little bit of kind of preemptively being confident, I think at times. There was a little bit of like trying to like force like feeling myself. Also probably because I wanted you to feel me. Like there was a little bit of like I wanted my spouse to find me attractive, and he found me attractive when I found myself most attractive. So I kind of like tried to push those barriers, but it doesn't undo all the things I know I was feeling in those moments and in those photos. And it's so interesting that in the photos that I'm like, oh God, I look good. Like I was cute at that wedding. I remember even there's a set of photos that we use a lot for my before and afters from a wedding we went to in Colorado Springs. There's another one from a set of photos that we use from when we went to a wedding in Mexico, in Cancun. Those two photos show all these fun memories, show me in all these great outfits, every single night, my face done, my hair done, I was done to the nines. I have so many memories from both of those trips of being in pain, of having to cut out early, of getting sick, of not being able to handle the food, of really embarrassing gastro stuff that would happen when I would overeat or I would binge eat, of literally nights that, there's photos from all my girlfriends dancing out in the club or whatever, and I wasn't there. Even though I was on the trip, I wasn't there because I physically couldn't keep up at the end of the day.
Right.
My body hurt. I was tired. And so even all these photos that like showed all these really good memories where I looked really stunning, where I was really put together and I was wearing the pretty clothes and the crop tops and the hair, I can't help but anchor and remember the reality of where I was inside. And I think that part of the weight loss skin removal surgery, the post-weight loss surgery, see, I'm catching myself now, is that I finally got the opportunity to invest in having my outside match my inside.
I was going to say.
Because I started to feel good in my skin all the time. Because it was the first time that I'm like, my skin's a little flabby.
It was just the capstone to the journey
Yes.
to really bring out the inside that was already there.
Yes.
That was all that was needed at that point. The rest of it wasn't needed anymore.
Yeah, that I was like, there's pictures of us hiking and I'm in a cropped, Colorado t-shirt with hiking shorts, and that extra skin is literally like, it would like bubble up over the top and like hang out and come out and peek out and say hi. And there's pictures where it's like weird folds, like little sections of it had come out or whatever. But I was feeling amazing. When I look at that picture, I don't say, oh my gosh, look at my body. I go, oh gosh, what a good memory. Because it really was a good memory. It wasn't laced with all of the physical stress, physical pain, all the things that just went into being unhealthy, chronically unhealthy. And so when I take a look at some of those, it's really fun to go, now I get to flip this on its head. And so December 1st, we had our first one. I had my first one. We are a we. If y'all haven't noticed yet, we are a we. And so I had my first surgery, and in a little under 9 weeks, 8 weeks and 6 days, I have my next skin removal surgery. And right now I can officially say I am for sure having a brachioplasty. We are looking at and having discussions with both the doctor and the surgical center and everything else about doing a second surgery. But until that is booked and paid for, we're not talking about that on YouTube. So as of right now, the one surgery that I'm having on October 10th is a brachioplasty, which is the removal of this skin. And so this is where I carried weight. When I look at pictures of my body, when I look at pictures of me at my heaviest, it wasn't that I was real huge through here. I wasn't real huge through the thighs. I had arms that rivaled my thighs. Like I just carried weight there. And I am so proud. Like I really am. Look at that little line. I am so proud of how far I've come. I'm so proud that I gave myself a year and a half almost post weight loss of maintenance of collagen and of bone broth and all these things that I've done to try and get that skin to come in as much as possible.
And I think even Heather had mentioned that she was pretty amazed at how your skin had come in already.
Yes.
By last December.
She was it really was like, I think she was expecting things worse. And I remember doing that initial consultation and removing everything and showing everything. And she went, it's honestly, I'm blown away that it looks this good after 125 pounds weight loss. And I think that I did implement all the fasting and the collagen and the
so good at
stuff that I think that it did help. It helped kind of pull that in. But there's only so far.
Yeah.
And gravity, this is one of those things that gravity keeps going with either way. Women experience this over time. Either way, mine just has like a 4-inch head start of moving its way to the ground. And it's not that it's a necessary surgery. I don't have any kind of complications with this. It is pure vanity. When I see pictures and when I look in the mirror, it's one of the things that I go, I want the outside to match how I feel inside. And I don't feel as good carrying this particular sign that I was close to 300 pounds anymore. And it's not that if it didn't happen or if I got canceled, my world would end. But it is one of those things where I go, I have a whole lot of life ahead of me, like a whole lot. And if this is one of the things that I can do now in my mid-30s and have removed and be able to enjoy my arms in a way that I've never seen them. I've never seen this. Yeah, I would do the same thing. I just want to point out, I wasn't thin and got fat. I wasn't somebody who was like super thin in high school and then gained weight in my 20s and 30s. I was a chubby 4-year-old. Like it was always. Yeah. And so it's never been something I've seen. And so to have that next stage has gone through the same experiences, the same emotional turbulence of what about the time that I'm down? What about the money that we're spending? Should we be doing this? And I think that one of the things that's been most important in this whole journey is learning to prioritize myself in a way I probably never have, in a way of not apologizing for asking for my needs to be met, and wanting to do the things that I want to do for me. And all of that is in tandem with literally, if we're home full time with all 5 kids. It's with homeschooling. It's with growing businesses and running businesses with you.
We got a busy schedule.
It's with all the other things.
We were talking about today.
Yes,
How
oh my gosh.
Literally. How are we going to get it all done? Well, we're just going to do it. We're just going to do it.
It's going to be fine.
It's going to be fine.
But all of those things, I had to be able to say, I can do all of those things and be a priority in my own life. And I think that I did not think that that was possible 4 years ago. I didn't think that I could be a mom and have an identity. I didn't think that I could be a wife and prioritize me as an individual versus just as part of us as a couple. And all of those things are part of the growth journey, the gains from the weight loss. And so I think it's important to kind of address that the surgery decision wasn't just based on what it was or what skin removal surgery or how much it cost or which doctor I was going to use or whether I had drains or drainless. It was all of that. It was all of that that led me to the decision that I got to. And that led me to the decision to say at the beginning of October, you know, there's some travels I wanted to do. There's some friends I wanted to meet up with and things that I wanted to accomplish, you know, over the fall. And I went, I'm going to stop. I'm going to hit pause on going 100 miles an hour, you know, all month, every month for the entire year. And I'm going to take 4 to 6 weeks and I'm going to heal and I'm going to take care of this for me. And you've committed to and been phenomenal at being by my side during it and being my person. And it is kind of just, you know, I was like, we know we have people who love us and are going to help, but it is us and it's going to be you and the kids making those meals. And that commitment had to be a conversation here too.
We're practiced enough at it now. We got this.
Yes. I think if you had just come home from work and you were just now being around us 24/7, the way you have been the last 4 years, it'd be a different conversation. But anything I do, you do better is kind of the joke. Like he is so good at all of it. And so running our household, running our food, running our kids' education, all those things while I am down for the count for a little bit is something that we had to have a conversation about. And I had to get buy-in. I had to say, like, can you cover me here where I'm not going to be able to be as present as I would normally want to be? And having somebody else that said, I will fill in the gaps. And so that might be with work. That might be with, you know, if you have other commitments in your life, it might be that you're a single parent and you have kids and you have to say, hey, mom, grandma, whoever, like, could you be a helper during this time? And so a lot of times if it's more than just you that's dependent on you, it requires additional conversations. But the conversations are worth having and you don't have to feel guilty about them.
I've noticed that when you're your best, it's better for all of us. So this is not a sacrifice, I think. This is you being your best adds to everything else that we're doing. So why wouldn't we do this? It seems like a foregone conclusion. So
I feel like we can end it there. Goodness gracious. No, I think that that's an important thing is that anytime you're at your very best, you're best for the people you love. And anytime that you're willing to love on yourself, you love harder, you love better, you exude love outward more. You know, it's just been a couple times, either on Clubhouse or at a conference in the last couple months that I've heard that love thy neighbor as thyself requires the as thyself. Like that is the bar. So you cannot love them more than yourself. You have to be willing to love you first and do it well and do it fully so you can fully love others. And I think that there's a whole lot of different, you know, iterations of that that kind of explain that, you know, you can't be at your best for others unless you're at your best for yourself. And this is the next step for me really wanting to feel at my best for me and having the love and support that I have from our little Keto fam to make this happen. And so I'm so looking forward to it. But as far as what was the question?
Why did you decide to do surgery and how did it go or something?
Why?
Like I don't remember. If you all remember, let us know.
All of that.
What was the question?
The answer is all of that. And it wasn't about which, you know, garments to get or whether or not you had drain holders or if you needed the walker versus the individual one or what. The cane. None of that. It was all the other stuff that I had to process and unpack and work through in order to say yes to me here. And if you're considering it, definitely be willing to go through and ask the hard questions, but know that the end all be all goal is for you to be able to say yes to you. And that's a worthwhile endeavor.